Recording in progress.
Welcome, Justice Ji, the great Chief Justice, former Chief Justice of India, a great friend of the country. We shall be always grateful. You have graced us on a few occasions in the last couple of months, and today the issue that we're going to be talking and listening to you would be on a very, very sensitive issue. It's a subject which basically percolates each and every nook and corner of the society. Bonded labor. We have evolved over the last 75 years, but where are we when it comes to employment issues, bonded labor, and bonded labor from a national subject perspective is very important now, because India is moving towards a more uniform society with technology pervading each and every corner of the society. Justice Balakrishnan, sir, you have also been the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. For 5 years, you were chairing the National Human Rights Commission, if my knowledge goes right. And being the former Chief Justice of India, no one better to talk on this subject which concerns human aspects more than the former Chief Justice of this nation, great nation. Where are we? Where were we? And what is the way forward, sir, for this very important issue on bonded labor? And how would you like to advise the corporates and the institutions and government, and as well as the companies who are working with huge amount of manpower, to go forward with this particular way of employing people? Look forward to hearing from you. Over to you, Justice KJ Balakrishnan ji.
Ms. Ramit Goenka and the distinguished colleagues and dear friends, you have chosen a very important subject which is got vast ramification in India. The bonded labor, which is now we will say that there is no bonded labor system in India, there is no slavery, nothing and all. But India has got a long tradition of this bonded labor system. The thousands and thousands of people were enslaved in India, and some of them were converted, women were killed, and their wives and children were taken as bonded laborers. This is, India has got a long history right from the 6th century. From 6th century, even India was having the slave trade. Even some of the earlier kings, 1/5 of the treasury amount was set apart for the feeding the slaves. As you must, you can know the extent of slaves in it was in this country. This it was taken as a legally acceptable norms of making people work, and they were army people, and large number of people were recruited to army. They were just like bonded slaves. They have no other right, and that is, of course, that is, they are fighting for the country. Of course, it is tolerable. But large number of other people were enslaved, and that is the history of ancient India. And we must also know there are hundreds and thousands of indentured laborers were taken out of India to work in various plantations in European countries. That is, and not only European countries, other Malaysia, Philippines, New Guinea, south of the other countries, Madagascar, all these countries, large number of people had been gone. In South Africa, they were all as indentured laborers. They were only they will get some wages, mostly in sugarcane plantations, mines, and various other areas. They were asked to work, they will be paid. And South Africa also, endangered. You all know, when you read our Mahatma Gandhi's the stories, he was there to help the Indian endangered laborers. He was conducting the cases of endangered laborer. That is why they call him as Kuli Vakil, because he was working for these people. He was the lawyer of these endangered laborers in South Africa. Large number of Indians were there in that area. Many countries, if you go, and in some of the countries, even now they speak Hindi as they were there for 400, 500 years back. Then is a small country, Suriname. Their people speak Hindi. Then we go there and meet people. They are able to they talk very fluent Hindi. So their forefathers came long back. So all is part of the slave trade. Slave, they went in ship in thousands and thousands, because probably at that time the authorities forced them to go. Sometimes they were vented, they had no job, no existence. They were not able to feed the children, their wife and their children. They were not finding anything for feeding their children. So they had to resort to these endangered laborers. India was a country where large number of the source of large number of endangered laborers who had been sent to various and the old sultanate, earlier sultanate, the kings had these armies, mostly these, and during Alauddin Khilji's time, those who did not pay the tax, they were immediately taken as slaves. So one who was failed to pay the tax, unable to pay the tax, they were enslaved. So there is a long history for this slave trade. And some of the films are also how the black Africans were taken and taken to the ship or worked, and they were beaten severely. All those they are depicted in some of the films. You must have seen very sad state of affairs. That is the slave trade. It was throughout the world. The slave trade was there. So that is the India during the earlier period. It has become a practice to have the slaves in all fields, and in the only in the Indian slavery, prohibition of Indian Slavery Act of 1843 was East India Company passed in. So, but even then, this practice of many these women, children, their daughters were all enslaved for different purposes, and the male were asked to work in as the servants of the king, either in the army or elsewhere. So it was a very sad picture we get about the ancient Indian history about this. But no use in the looking into all this. Now we have to think of our present system. How to prevent the present situation? Is there any slavery? Is there any bonded labor? How it could be it could be avoided? How it could be the bonded labor system is still there, still in. I can working in the NHRC. I can very well say we had come across large number of bonded labor system. The practice is that some of the agriculture workers who are attached to the landed class, naturally the agriculture workers may have some problem. Either one of their children will have illness for a long period. They will find it extremely difficult to raise fund, or some marriage or some other function, or the death, or so they borrow money. They borrow money from their master. Then the master, the amount may be a small amount, some 10,000 to 20,000 rupees, but that employee, that worker would be unable to repay the money to his master. Then the master asked him to, you do job, not only you, your children and your wife and all other members have to do the job. They will not be paid anything in return, or they will be paid some nominal thing for household expenses. So they will be given something for their existence, because their existence is important. If only they leave, the master can get the employment. That is continued. I don't want to name the state. In some of the states, remote parts of some of the states, it is prevalent, and we cannot ignore those facts. And the police or the law enforcing authorities are not able to reach those, and this is all done in a very clandestine, very secret way. The master will not tell. These slaves, so-called slaves, are unable to have access to any public authorities. They will be prevented from the most important thing that is required. The spread of education should be such that they must know their children should get education. Then they will know what are the consequences. What is that why they are being paid. Then these money lenders, that is also a sort of worse than slavery. The money lenders lend money and they come and extort money from it was some small petty amount that is they give money, but 10 times greater than the amount advance they will recover from the person and will threaten and will create all sorts of, and many times the house will be taken over, the property will be taken over by the money lender. That is also in a way is worse than slavery, prevalent in our society. So the money lenders, the masters who enslave the workers for their money will never be considered as repaid. So that bond, that is the bonded labor that is in existence in some of it is prevalent in some of the states, not in cities, but in the remote village where the agricultural work is the prominent thing. And the workers also, they are not paid due wages. That is also slavery. Many things we pass appropriate laws and prevent the prohibition of that itself is not sufficient. We should have a proper enforcement system. If anything, any violation of the law takes place, and not only these people should come and complain, there should be a surveillance inspectors for enforcement of these provisions of the act. They must go to the village, they must go visit the areas and find out whether any such practice is being followed I myself worked in the Kasaragod area of Kerala, and when this endosulfan, which was a pesticide widely used, and there are large number of people affected by endosulfan. NHRC received a complaint. I, along with some of the members, we visited 13 villages in Kasaragod area, and then we found that this use of endosulfan has created big havoc. Many of them are it was done in 74, 78. They are all 20, 25 years. They are physically is not able to move. The one person in a family is not able to move out, not able to walk or eat or do any personal activities. Naturally, somebody should be there to look after the affairs of that person. So it was a huge problem. We directed that the compensation should be paid to each family. There should be a specialist hospital for them and there should be rehabilitation centers. All these orders were passed by the NHRC, and that was approved by the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court directions are not still fully complied with. We organized a seminar. We organized the report was for implementation report. We called the various head of the department from the concerned government, and the collector were called to the NHRC to implement. Then somebody filed the matter before the Supreme Court, and they enforced. These are all the matters which affect the basic rights of the people. It is very sad that even after independence of so many years of independence, we economically progress. We are producing large number of food grains. We are exporting food grains. Even now, we have got poverty in at least some corner, some islands of India. That is sad. There is an equitable distribution of that is the constitutional mandate. Is equitable distribution of the wealth of this country. That is the constitutional mandate given in the Constitution. But that is not effectively being implemented, or effectively is those who are in the affairs of the state should see that these slogans they should be implemented, not to remain as slogans alone. So the slavery is also a big black spot in our society. It should be we cannot ignore this fact. Some of the remote tribal areas, the slavery is continued. They are not able to discharge their work. They are not able to discharge, they exercise their civil rights properly. And if this, unless it is, many things we prohibit by law. So we also prohibited these shauchalayas, cleaning of shauchalayas is to be, people shall not be engaged. Human, the excreta shall not be the prohibition. We have passed the law, but it is not strictly implemented. Still, it is being done in some parts of the country. So many laws we pass, but the continued effort is not being made to implement these provisions. That can be done. It is a fault of the officials. It is a fault of the person in charge of the concerned department. It should be. We may annoy some people. We may not be happy. There may be some difficulty for the vote bank of some of the political parties. That may be the reason that they are not very strict on these things, because they are all those who are affected. If the law is properly implemented, the effect will be on the persons who have got a high influence in the society. That may create problem for the administrators. That is why they are very, very careful. But we cannot think of, India is a country where large number of endangered levels were sent out. The large India also got from Turkey, from South Asia, a large number of slaves came to India also. It is also to Portuguese, Goa. From Portuguese, the slaves had come to Goa. So that is also there. Just as in America, the large number of African Americans, which they now call these African bonded laborers, had not come to India, because at that time, the economic prosperity in India was not that much to attract these slaves and to give employment to them. So, but the large number of people were taken out. They are not very well off. If you go to Mauritius, we come across those, they had gone there to work in the sugarcane field. Indian workers were, they speak Hindi. Some of them still speak Hindi. They are able to, they have fairly good life. it may not be possible for them to come back to India or the, but not they had gone hundreds of years back. They worked, their forefathers worked in the sugarcane plantation, and now they are in every country. So if you go every country, there is a Indian island in all these countries. That is if you think of how they came, how they worked, this Madagascar, Papua New Guinea, all these Indian people are there. Some of them are politically also vibrant group or Indian groups are there, but they reach there as slaves, almost are workers. So the slavery is a bonded labor. Slavery is a very dynamic subject which has got a wide ramification both in the ancient India, present India, and unless this blot is removed from our society, we should have a free society. But these all various other problems, I don't want to discuss all those problems which is affecting these. So anyway, it is a sad thing that a country like India, which is progress in all aspects, economic wealth is there, social progress is there, industrial progress is there, and we have got a vibrant democracy is there. In spite of all this, we still have some islands of slavery that is being practiced. That is, I don't want to specifically name the states, particular states where they are being the practice. My suggestion is only that we should spread education. Education, once they get proper, at least basic education, they will think of their rights and they will try to extricate themselves from this bonded labor, and they will find out poverty is the basic thing. We have to remove the poverty. If poverty is not removed, then these sort of social evils will continue to in our society. That is the major problem. Education is to be spread, poverty is to be completely removed, and that is important. Thank you, Mr. Amit, for I will, I hope there may be various other speakers who will throw light on the subject, on this important subject. Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is sir, thank you for a brief monologue on the subject of bonded labor. Vicarious liability is something which, you know, is very much closely linked to bonded labor issues. Now,
Vicarious liability.
I mean, in terms of people, you know, being guided, the kids, small children, even the girls, especially the, you know, kind of teenage girls being guided towards bonded labor by not so well-to-do families, poor families. And do you think there is some relation between vicarious liability and bonded labor also? And how can we tackle these issues, which are social menaces, which are because of education, lack of earning opportunities? These kind of things lead to exploitation, and thereby vicarious liability is also something very important. We need to sensitize the society also, so that that is what I feel. What do you have to say to that, sir?
It is true that in some places in India, the parents misuse their children and they abuse their children so that they make a living or make earning. That is, in that case, the children are helpless. The vicarious liability is on the parents. Parents really, they are liable to do this heinous crime. that is, I know certain places which I don't want, that also I don't want to mention. So these children are driven to such a situation, and they themselves do not know the serious consequences that may befall on them. But the parents, instead of doing a proper work and feed them their children, they make use of their children for this social menace. Of course, as you said, the parent could be prosecuted, the vicarious liabilities, criminal liability is there. But that is also a sad spectacle in some of the pockets in India. That is, some places are notorious places for these sort of things.
As a country, which are the states, if you may just say, who are more kind of into this bonded labor menace or this kind of problems from a state's perspective? I believe Tamil Nadu, states like Bihar, Tamil Nadu, they have a lot of bonded labor issues because employment opportunities are there. Textile sectorally, for example, textiles is a sector which employs a lot of bonded labor in the areas of Tamil Nadu, where there is a huge amount of clusters of industries in the textile sector. So do you think these are areas which need to be focused upon urgently and immediately by the government?
As I decline to give the names of the state, but not only in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka also, there is a remote villages in Karnataka, there is still bonded system, bonded slavery. The master gives some money to the servants, they will not be able to pay back, and for eternity, they will have to serve the master by doing his work forever. This is practiced in some of the areas in Tamil Nadu. But as you said, this could be minimized by creating more and more employment opportunities. Tamil Nadu is a fairly good industrial areas, textile industrial units are there, textile units are there. They are handiwork. Some of the areas, Tirupur is weavers place, Namakkal is a weavers place, Madurai is a textile industry, Madras and these Chennai and other areas, there are various other industrial units. So it is good that if the more and more employment opportunities are there, they will go for employment and they will not be succumb to the pressure exerted by the masters. And we should have a proper banking system. We should, those who are very in poor state of affairs should get a loan at reasonable rate, so that they may not resort to get loan from these so-called the masters who act like vultures to pounce upon them.
India is a country which has a huge unemployment ratio with respect to the kind of employable or ready workforce that we have. There are issues like social security systems that are being worked upon by the government, huge amount of unorganized labor issues. What suggestions would you have to the new government, the current government and the new minister, Mr. What is the suggestions that you would like to give to the government so that in the next 3 years we see some difference in the current regime?
Now
pandemic has really blown this thing out of proportion quite a bit, and we can see that despite the migrant laborers having gone back to their places, they are now again coming back to the states where they were employed and working. And this problem has to be, this is a wonderful opportunity for the government to nip in the bud to ensure that there is some systems in place. So what are the suggestions, sir?
Because of the pandemic situation, our employment opportunities were vastly diminished. So many had to leave the work and go to their village. And so many people were, the masters were not able to pay the wages to the workers. And now that scenario is slowly changing. Now, by going by the latest report in Delhi, the COVID-19 situation is almost over. Only the new variety is not spotted, only very few, and that is also not a big issue. People have returned to the original situation. Then we can be hopeful. The business will thrive. People will start working, and India, the Delhi is a place of migrant laborers. Large number of migrant laborers are there from UP, then Orissa, then Bihar, and other states. They come and work in Delhi. So they will all slowly return to Delhi, start working. All these small industrial units in and around Noida and other Gurgaon and all those areas will start functioning. I think problems will be more or less solved. And the authorities should be able to guide them properly and give them a sort of help to them. That is the only solution.
India is having a great, has been driving this skill development, something called skill development.
Skill.
Skill mission of this country. And, everybody is getting skilled. India has got a great demographic dividend. And we are supposed to be having the best workforce in the world. Now, bonded labor is a kind of a next situation to getting employed. So I have never seen, in terms of the skill missions inculcating such theoretical as well as practical inputs to the students so that they don't get into that bonded labor trap by the companies who encash upon the desperations for employment. So what do we have any kind of systems in place wherein they can then, once they're ignorant, they get into that trap and then they can come back from those kind of traps and lead a normal life. I'm talking about Indian employments, not in Middle East as of now. I'm just talking about the Indian employments in that.
The employment opportunities are there, but many of them are not proficient in any skill. That is also required. If the person is not proficient in any skill, it would be difficult for him to get a appropriate job. So skill development corporation is there. Then not only that, all types of this plumber, the electrician, the all mechanic, small machine, all these they should get all proper training. If they get training, certainly either they will get employment in India or in other Gulf countries, so that they can very well avail the opportunity and get a good employment. Getting a good employment is the, and once he is proficient in any skill, I don't think that there is a lack of employment opportunities. There is always a scope for, but many people do not join any or try to get any professional skill in any branch. That is a ordinary education may not by itself is of any help in getting a proper employment. That is there. But skill development is being done by the government of India also. I think they are giving importance to skill development.
Sir, final question, not a question, just an observation. Middle East has been a huge employer and employment opportunity for Indians,
Ah,
right from the Keralites to the nurses,
yes.
to plumbers, drivers, technicians, even qualified workforce. I understand developed countries, I do not know, I mean, US and all countries who employ people from the IT sector and all that in European countries. Uh, these kind of companies, I do not know much. US, I do not know what the situation is for Indians. But yes, Middle East, we keep hearing a lot of issues from a bonded labor perspective. Way forward, sir?
I don't think any bonded labor in this Middle East area. Only one problem is there when some of the agents who employ these workers, they give high promises to them. They will high salary, they will say that you will get, and the nature of the job that is offered to him or her will not be disclosed at the initial stage. When they go there and join, the job which is described by the agent is totally different. And sometimes they will not be able to come back. Their passport will be taken over by the agent or by the employer. So they will not be paid and they will be forced to do some undesirable things. That is also some such objection is mainly those who go for domestic work. The women who go for domestic work, they find it extremely difficult. The work is very tenuous and the salary is not much. They are not able to go out. They are not able to come back to their parent state. All these difficulties are there for such workers. It is sometimes we say that this is a sort of bonded labor in exist in these sort of employment. That is now the government, this sort of recruitment should be handled by the government department, not by private agencies. Private agencies shall not be completely abolished. There should be a system by which the employees are to be to seek employment in the foreign country based on now there is a system, but especially in the case of nurses and all, the registration, they offer a big amount, but the moment they'll put in some useless hospitals. Some such things also, complaints are there, but and now these problems are less, but nevertheless that problem, as you said, is there. Not bonded labor, but a sort of cheating by these agents who provide, who are doing working as agents for providing employment.
Sir, thank you so much for this. Sir, thank you so much for this wonderful 35 minutes that we spent with you on bonded labor. My knowledge is absolutely close to zero, and we and the entire country would learn a lot from this 35 minutes monologue from your side, sir. We will be keeping you posted on new developments on this issue of bonded labor, because a lot of initiatives are being taken by the current government. Recently, there was a lot of discussion on the social security net by the current labor minister in the parliament. All these things would definitely take India forward towards a much more balanced society with opportunities for all, equal opportunities and humane opportunities for all. Thank you so much, sir. Look forward
Thank you.
to
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.